So this was the animation I was talking about earlier. So this starts out in like 1930, so almost a century ago. How did couples meet from 1930 to through 2024? And so you see as it starts out, and this is really shocking, especially over the last 20 years, how it switches, which is that originally was family, and then it was school. And because a lot of people got, they married their high school sweetheart. Like my parents, my dad asked my mom to prom, and they went to prom, and they started dating and got married shortly thereafter. And so my mom was like my dad's first and I think only girlfriend at the time, and that's how they met. The next is friends, and then after that becomes neighbors, then church, then bar and restaurant, then college, and then coworkers. And obviously online didn't exist 100 years ago because there was no internet. So it's about a minute long, but just watch this. This is pretty crazy how it changes.
The number's probably gonna go up for sure.
Chunky, why don't you start it over without the music? I don't want to run any copyright issues.
Yeah, the online number's definitely gonna go up.
So you notice how Friends is, so your social network is like number one in the 50s. And I assume the reason why family was number one is because people were introduced and trying to set each other up. And if you watched It's a Wonderful Life, that's kind of what was going on. Is family and friends were trying to set George Bailey and Mary's character up.
I would see why Friends is like high up there too.
And then coworkers, men and women are working together.
That's crazy.
Look how fast
oh
it
my
goes.
god. Holy crap.
That's insane.
But hey, Friends is still going strong.
60% of people meet online. But second is friends or coworkers. Again, that's why I talk about this a lot. When you look at the stats, your friends, your social network, the things that you do for fun is the best way to meet girls. And it's just because when you meet, you already have a lot in common. You know a lot of the same people. And like in my book, it's like some of my best relationships were all through people I knew. Very 5% bar and restaurant. But look at families all the way down there at 4%.
The second biggest one at first and second said that.
That's crazy. And then
Neighbors
small.
went down too. Neighbors went to 1.2.
Who really talks to their neighbors anymore?
No one really.
Exactly.
When I was a kid, we were outside every day. We knew everybody in the neighborhood. We would go to my friend's house, and like I said, that was the thing that I noticed was really surprising when I got into real estate in the mid '90s. Just I was always on the road. I was always because I was looking at foreclosure houses. Sometimes I'd look at 4 or 5 houses in a day. Sometimes Saturday morning, sometimes Sunday morning. Because if a property hit the market, you had to go look at it. You had to put your numbers together. You had to submit your offer. Because basically whoever got to the property first and got their offer accepted that was relatively close to what the seller needed was the one that got it locked up. And, so I go out in the mornings, I look at 4 or 5 properties. It'd take me 4 or 5 hours because I might start out in like North Orlando and then drive all the way down to like Point Siena, Kissimmee area, that's like an hour drive to get there. And so I would, this is before Google Maps. So I had one of those big map books.
MapQuest?
And so MapQuest was around then, but I had the map book. And so I would take Post-it notes and I would number them. I would have to look through the book and kind of figure out what is the shortest distance between those 4 or 5 addresses to make a round trip. That so I ended up back at the office so I could write my offers up and then fax them over and then later do it through email. And but I never saw any kids out, and if I did, it was just like a mom and dad and watching their kid ride a bike. He wasn't playing with his friends, or he has a helmet on. We didn't have any of that shit. It's like my brother and I and Billy, who I think you guys have met before.
Yeah.
We go knock on the door. He come over. Hey, can Corey come out and play? It's like, hey, can Billy come out and play? It's like, yeah, boom. And then we're gone for the whole fucking day, and we come home maybe around 5 or 6 o'clock. If we wanted to go eat, there was a place. Because we lived off of it was like McNabb Road and Cypress Creek Road. There was this Pompano Pizza place, which I think is still there. And we used to ride our bikes up there, lock them up, go inside, order pizza, have some Coca-Cola, 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon when we got hungry. and because it was cheap back then. And plus, I worked, I had a paper route, so I took paper route earnings, and I'd take myself to lunch sometimes. And it's we were always out, we were always doing something in the neighborhood. And nowadays, it's like, and I noticed this in the '90s, nobody's outside, and all the kids got, they're padding, or we had nothing. We would go and get no helmets, no nothing. We played football in the street, two-hand touch. Sometimes we'd run around barefoot, and occasionally you stub your toe and you rip your fucking skin off
Ah,
your toes or whatever. I did that a lot. And sometimes somebody pushes you a little too hard when you get mad when they get mad at you because your team's winning, and then they push you too hard and you end up landing on the sidewalk or in the street and you get road rash, and then then we start throwing hands and fighting each other, and the next day we're playing like nothing ever happened. It was just that was life.
I couldn't relate. My parents didn't even allow me to go to the mailbox by myself to get mail.
well,
No, I'm serious. They were super protective.
Well, I
But
do remember when I was little, it's like when Adam Walsh, John Walsh's son, when he got kidnapped, I think it was like 1981, 82. He was around my age.
mhm.
And his mom was at Sears and with him. And she was walking around in Sears and he was playing with the video games. And when she came back, she was only like 15, 20 feet away. And somebody had, talked him into going outside with them. And I think there was a van that
oh
somebody saw, and the
God,
guy
yeah.
drove away, and that was a few weeks or a month later, they found his head. I don't think they
Jesus.
ever found his torso.
Yeah.
So, and that was all over the national news because back then you had ABC, CBS, NBC. That was it. And if you had cable, you had CNN. Back when they actually would report real news back then, but that was pretty crazy. But still, it's like that was a one-off thing. It was like that was the only kid that got kidnapped and murdered. And nowadays, there's like, 300, 400,000 kids disappear every year in the United
Mhm.
States. So it's no wonder that nobody lets their kids play anymore because you definitely worry about
Yeah.
somebody come along and swiping them. And that's what happens when you have 20 million people flow across the border. And the problem is everybody on the left is like, oh, it's women and children, even though it's mostly military age males coming across the border and, pedophiles and all this other stuff, like the clip we saw for 40 to 60 bucks. These girls get kidnapped and they get sent into sex slavery. I mean, that's why these things happen because we allow all, and the people on the left they're basically holding the gates open for the barbarians to just stream across the border. And if you bitch and you complain about it, they say that you're racist.
Yeah, I remember growing up as well when they used to do like educational videos on certain things. Like I remember my mom used to put like videos of like what to do when a stranger comes up to you and it's like you tell them, "I'm sorry, I don't talk to strangers," and then you just scream for help, kind of. At
Yeah,
least
well, we
no,
knew like don't
that's how it
talk to
was.
strangers.
That's
We
how
were
it
taught
was.
that. We had our bikes and we would ride away.
Yeah, you'd see like the video of the dude pulling up is like, "Hey, I know your mom. You want me to take you home?" And they're like, "I'm sorry, I don't talk to strangers." They just start running away.
no, my grandma used to tell me, it's like you don't talk to strangers, and then she would give me an example because they will take you home, rape you, and kill you, and I'll never see you ever again. And I'm like, they like my parents say instilled fear. Like
No, me
this
too.
is like you don't talk to them, they'll kill you, rape you, they'll
Or
even
don't
rape.
take candy from them
Yeah,
either.
there's razor blades in there.
Oh yeah. I couldn't eat my Halloween candy
Oh
either
yeah,
growing up.
until somebody went through it, you weren't allowed to eat it.
Yeah. The adults had to confiscate it, but let's be real. They probably ate the candy. They don't want to tell us, but it's true. It is true. There are neighbors, there are evil people out there there have been reports over time of people hiding razor blades and needles inside the candy.
I never had that when I was a kid. Like I never heard that around my town, but I also lived in an extremely small town. Like,
Yeah. For us, it did.
it's the country.
Thankfully, it hasn't happened to me, but there have been. I remember hearing the news like during those times of kids coming across or parents coming across like candy that they receive, that their kids receive for Halloween with like razors and stuff like that. You'd be
Well, I
surprised.
seen last year somebody was putting like THC candies
Yeah.
with the kids' candy.
Yeah. No, there's evil people out there.
Yep.